Today, I'm having coffee with Jason Bean-Mortinson with Thurston-Mason Behavioral Health Organization and Wayne Graham from the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office. Good afternoon, or good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. We're here to talk about a new program in Thurston County, the Thurston Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, or LEAD as it's known. And we've got Wayne Graham, who manages LEAD within the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office, with us today. We also have the LEAD Program Manager for Thurston-Mason Behavioral Health Organization, Jason. What is LEAD, guys, and how do you think it helps people achieve the best outcomes without going through what we might consider to be a traditional criminal justice pathway?
Well, I'll start. Our office has always been interested, the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office, in alternative ways of addressing criminal behavior. And the LEAD program fits right in with that model. Is there a different way that we can address the behavior while maintaining community safety, but also trying to remove the hurdles that are preventing the person from being successful in our community? And so our office with the Department of Health and the Thurston County Sheriff's Office actively sought out the grant that we're now working under. And at some point we were able to obviously bring on Jason from the TMBHSO. I always get the acronyms wrong, but from the Behavioral Health Organization here in Thurston County as our program manager. And so from our end, that's where we were looking to try and address that population. And then I'll kind of hand the baton to Jason and explain what his people do once we identify who we'd like to try and serve.
Yeah, it's the LEAD program originated out of Seattle back in not too long ago, 2011. And at its core, it's an intensive case management program using harm reduction to work with people that are having frequent contact with law enforcement or at risk of frequent contact with law enforcement. And beyond that, like Wayne talked about, the prosecutor's office and sheriff's office have been really supportive and engaged. And this is beyond just that service side, is a system change model where it brings a really diverse group together to look at beyond just what individuals are experiencing, how can we change the system to better meet their needs and help break out of cycles that they're stuck in.
And then how does the program meet the community safety component that's always paramount and for the larger community and the public?
Well, the nature of the offenses that we're looking at aren't the types of offenses that hopefully we would end up, especially during COVID, booking them in our jail. So we don't have that avenue generally available to the population we're trying to look at. So instead of law enforcement just citing them and walking away and then referring a case to us with no services being provided in the interim, then hopefully we're able to contact Jason's folks, the peer counselors, to make some contact and then start addressing that behavior even before the criminal justice system gets involved. So it's really adapting to our current modality of what we can and can't reasonably do in a time frame that makes sense.
So you kind of touched on this, but who qualifies for LEAD and how do they get connected to Jason and his team?
Well, I'll kind of hand that one to Jason. We've got two alternatives. We have our social referrals that come from a lot of avenues, but then we also have our arrest alternative referrals. So there's a combination of both. Right now, the program, we've been focusing on the social referrals because of some of the obstacles that I've talked about. And I think Jason can have a real good idea on how those referrals come to his people, with the vast majority still coming from law enforcement. They're out in the field. They know the people that need to get these services. While they might not be committing any criminal offenses at the time, hopefully we can still get them hooked up and maybe avoid that from ever happening in the first place. So that's where Jason, I think, can talk about the social referral aspect.
Yeah, and it's, well, like I said, it's the people that are having frequent contact or potential contact with law enforcement, and this provides an alternative response other than just walking away, which could happen historically, where they can get connected to services. The social contact side of it, it provides law enforcement an opportunity to kind of proactively engage the community. So these people are, identified as potentially needing some services, able to get contacted by case managers. We're also working with a lot of community providers and agencies that have work with this population as well to help connect them. And the ideal participants in LEAD are people that maybe wouldn't be successful in traditional treatment. Maybe they just need some extra supports, or their life situation is so complex that handing them an appointment card to go to a treatment center just isn't a realistic plan. So the case managers are able to meet with them, walk with them, ensure that they take the steps to help them be more successful and stable.
And thinking about that, Tye, so law enforcement will actually complete kind of a referral form where they give as much data to the peer management or counseling people that they can to try and say, here's why this person we think qualifies, here's where we think we can find them, but they'll also even assist the peer counselors in trying to locate these individuals and hook them up, and so the conversations can start, and then hopefully they can start engaging them at a level that they're ready to engage in. So we have a fairly refined referral process, but it's very open and gray because of the population we're trying to serve. It's not a black and white situation. You've got to be able to tap dance and move around with what they need.
But the alternative might have been an arrest and transport to the jail.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you share how many people have been referred to LEAD and to this point, and how long we've been up and running?
Yeah, so we got our first couple referrals the end of July last year, and right now we're just over 100 referrals into the program. And like Wayne mentioned, the majority of those have come from law enforcement. It's a little over 2/3. And so it was a steady increase each month. I expect that we're going to see a lot more people referred throughout this year. And of the people that have been referred, the vast majority have engaged in services and are wanting the help that the team is offering. So that's exciting.
I heard some numbers on that, and I was extremely excited about that, hearing the number of the percentage of engagement you're getting from the various referrals. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it really goes to the connections that law enforcement's making in the community to begin with, so they can kind of start at least talking to the individual about the potential of the program. But I really think it speaks volumes to Jason's team on how they're able to meet and really kind of get down to the base of what's happening and get that connection. That's where I think the real work is being done, at least on those numbers being really high as far as engagement goes.
You guys touched on this, but just to nail it down, what are the things you're looking for when you're trying to determine who qualifies or who's a good candidate to be connected to this program?
From the law enforcement prosecutor side is people that we know, and like Jason has said, maybe past efforts just haven't worked. The traditional criminal justice system isn't modifying their behavior. It's not giving them the support that they need. There's some gaps in the traditional system, and that's where programs like LEAD are trying to fill in some of those gaps. And so that would be my sense of the individual that we're looking for, the ones that are high utilizers of the system, the people that law enforcement is well familiar with because of their behavior and history in the community. And traditional prosecution or traditional criminal justice hasn't changed. So let's try something else, and that's where Jason and his team give us another avenue to try and go down.
I know it's early, Jason, but is there any, early in the program's evolution, but is there any success stories or something that sticks out that you could share about how LEAD might be impacting the community? And
yeah, definitely. I can't share any specifics, but I can say generally there's been a lot of exciting stories already that have come out, both for individuals that we're helping and their lives beginning to transform, as well as for some of the community response to law enforcement and the way law enforcement is being seen in a more positive light by some groups that historically have maybe been distrustful of law enforcement. There was one individual that was referred to the program and initially was extremely resistant, not very friendly towards law enforcement. Ultimately ended up coming to law enforcement seeking help and asked them to help them reconnect with family and reconnect with some supports that were available. And that's something that I don't think would have happened without this shift in how we're approaching people and engaging them. There's also been, big and small things, helping someone get a driver's license that's valid, people enrolling in college. There's been a lot of shifts in people's lives that I don't know would have happened without a program like this. So it's pretty incredible work, and I'm super proud of our case management team that we have and the law enforcement officers. Like Wayne said, they're going out into the field and helping us make contact with these individuals and proactively referring, I think this person could use some help. Can you go find them? So it's a really exciting program to be a part of and watch grow.
I know there's some confidentiality concerns, and that's why Jason indicated that. There was the case, one of the ones that sticks out to me was we actually helped a person get their tabs on their car. They kept coming into law enforcement's contact because their tabs were expired. And just by that little thing, helping get his tabs renewed, he was able to start going back to the life that he had before and started encouraging back from an employment standpoint. So there's a lot of things that are just these little, Band-Aids that just didn't have available before, and that's all they needed was just that little boost. And that's one that really stuck out to me.
And we're not just working with one law enforcement agency in Thurston County. We're working with, I think, all of them. Is that right?
Well, we targeted Thurston County Sheriff as a primary partner, and then we didn't want to get too big at the beginning. We wanted to build this right as we started to expand through the community. So we started focusing on the City of Lacey and the City of Tumwater and the Thurston County Sheriff's Department. We've now recently expanded into the Yelm area. The Department of Corrections now is a vital partner, and we're looking at engaging with both the Nisqually and the Chehalis tribes as our next steps, and then trying to incorporate some of our programming eventually with what Olympia is doing as well. And Jason might have some more input.
Well, I would just add that we've also engaged a lot of the community partners, like I mentioned, some of the other outreach providers that are in the community, making contact with people. A lot of referrals have come through the crisis system, and like I said, other agencies are doing similar work to help meet the needs in the community that haven't really been met as well as we're trying to meet them now.
So I'm really, if it's not already clear, I'm very excited about this program. And on Tuesday, February 8th, yesterday, the Board of County Commissioners approved a second contract with the Washington State Healthcare Authority for the expansion of lead services. And that's going to take us through June 30th, 2023. How will the money from the state, this new round, be used to improve lead as we go forward or what do you see the improvements or developments being over the next, what is that, year and a half?
Yeah, well, I think like Wayne mentioned, continuing to expand the referral base, both with other law enforcement agencies through the local tribes, as well as expanding other community referrals. We're also going to be able to add another case manager to the team to help increase the capacity for those new referral sources. And we're also, at the same time, able to get some funding through Healthcare Authority through a goal of meeting the legislation last session around 5476. So that dedicated funding to us that allowed us to add an additional team to double our capacity essentially just this past month. So I think there's going to be a lot of growth over this next year, and it's really exciting to have that stability of funding and the confidence in the community. I think we're just going to continue to see, like I said, a ton of referrals coming in and increased good outcomes for the people we're trying to help.
And the growth from our end is going to be increasing those arrest alternatives. With the Blake decision coming down and the legislative fix, in essence, of making possession of controlled substances non-felonies, that changed some of law enforcement's focus on how they could serve this population. So now we're trying to take a step back and look at some other charges that might be appropriate as an arrest alternative, which you referenced, Commissioner, as a chance to, instead of putting this person in handcuffs and taking them to jail, let's start expanding maybe the potential level of offenses that we could start referring over to Jason and the lead folks. So that's the expansion I think we're looking at from the law enforcement prosecutorial side.
It may be of interest to folks in the community that this program is a partnership between the state of Washington and Thurston County. The grant program was structured so that Thurston County provides, I think it's a quarter of the funding in the state, but the board has committed to working through this program and expanding it beyond the, whatever the end date of the state funding might be. So we're working on that because we just see the success. We're really excited about it. So I wanted to ask one kind of maybe more general question before we wrap up. What is one of the favorite things about the work that you do? Jason, I'll start with you.
So I've been locally in the behavioral health field for a long time now, going on 20 years, over 20 years. And this right now, just supporting a lead in this work is the favorite thing I've been able to do to this point. It's a really, really exciting program in general. I hear really cool stories from the case managers and from law enforcement. And I shifted from doing direct service to this kind of policy work because I wanted to help, create change and help people overcome barriers that I saw in the system. And this is doing that. So that's just doing what I'm doing right now is my favorite thing I get to do.
Awesome. How about you, Wayne?
For me, Commissioner, I think it's, again, I mentioned it at the beginning, the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office has always been looking at alternatives, and this alternative fits right into what John Thunheim, my boss, wants me to pursue. Let's think outside the box. And the biggest challenge for me is getting people to understand that this actually is a viable and successful alternative. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been doing this a long time that think there's one way to do it. And it's being able to meet them and talk with them, bring up some of the successes, and show them, you know what, not all the people, there's not one peg for one hole. You know, there's a chance to do something different. And that's where I really, I think, get my enjoyment or satisfaction from, is changing people's behaviors and or ideas and philosophies, and make them at least understand, you know, give it a chance. And so that's where we're at now, and hopefully we can continue to build on the success. And I know we appreciate the Board of County Commissioners supporting those efforts.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Jason Bean-Mortinson, Wayne Graham. For everyone out there watching, if you want to keep up with your local government, subscribe to the Thurston County YouTube channel. All Board of County Commissioners meetings and work sessions are live streamed there.
Thank you for having us, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you.